Hey guys, Derek Craig here with Oilfield Basics. Today we are at Ken Miller Supply here in Reno, Ohio. I'm here with Tim, and he's going to be walking us through a pump teardown. So you want to kind of tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing today?
Sure will. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to break the pump down and see what issues there is. We're going to clean everything, mic everything, make sure everything's within tolerance, and then we're going to reassemble after everything's done. So if you
so this is what's at the very bottom of a rod string.
Yes.
So if you see a pump jacket surface or some other type of rod lift system,
yes,
this is going to be what's at the bottom, or a style of it. There's a bunch of different types, and maybe you can walk us through it at the end, a couple of the different types of pumps.
Yes.
But so this is one pump in particular. Do you know what the issue with this one was?
He just brought in for service to make sure everything was in good working order. Test the ball and seats, look at the plunger, check for any indifferences in it, and repair it.
Okay.
And let him know
was
when
this
it's
going to
done.
be run on a different well or a new well or a rerun? And
Yeah, he's planning on running this down in another well. So he brought it in and asked me if I'd tear it down and see what's wrong with it and give it a repair job and let him know.
All right, well, awesome. Well, let's get into it.
All right. Yeah, this is a two-stage hollow valve rod. So it'll be a double valve, which you'll have a valve up here. Then on the bottom of the plunger, you're going to have another valve.
And that is?
Well, that's your seating assembly, but on the bottom of that plunger, which is on the inside of here, you're going to see another valve on the bottom of it, which that'll make it a true double valve. We'll get things broke down, and that way you can see the plunger when it comes out and what issues might be there.
Awesome. And you mentioned before to us, you don't want to use pipe wrench, right? But I'm guessing there's one place you can.
Well, on these parts here you can, but anything on the barrel you do not want to put a pipe wrench on because your tolerances are just so close. I mean, we're talking a hair. And I'll show you on the air mic how close your tolerance is going to be. But you have to remove the rod guide to release everything on the inside. You want to make sure there's no pressure or anything in it, because sometimes there is, where the ball and seat will get stuck and it'll hold pressure on the inside. So you kind of want to do things kind of slow. That way if there is a pressure on it, you can kind of release it a little bit at a time. So we're going to see if we can work that out. Right there's your plunger. We'll set the stand up underneath of it.
So is this grease or just oil? Actually,
that's just a little bit of crud that's on there.
Okay.
Which is, I don't feel any type of grit or anything. Well, maybe a hint, but everything looks to be okay so far. I mean, you're going to check for pitting, scoring, in those, if there's any scoring on it, which can produce slippage. You don't want any type of slippage or anything. You want everything back, to where everything is right to
the big causes of that would be like sand and formation.
Sand, or I'll have to hone the barrel out. Kind of look inside, see if I see anything in there that could be a potential problem. And as I was saying, you got a valve up here, and when you get down here to the bottom of the plunger, you have another valve. So there's a ball and seat here, a ball and seat there. And then down when you get to the other end off, you're going to have two ball and seats down there. So everything's cleaned by hand. But the first thing I do is, I just kind of stand this up out of my way, and then we will attack the other end, which which I already have it loosened up. So everything comes out, which it seems to be, you know, pretty clean on the inside. You know, I don't see any jip or anything, which that's a good thing, because sometimes, you know, if you can get it in here when it's fairly wet, you can get it out, but once the air hits that, it just sets like concrete.
And what do you call this piece? Because this is the very bottom, right?
Yeah.
So this is the seating.
This is your seating
cups.
assembly.
Okay.
And these are your seating cups, which, you know, when you set it down in the hole, that sets into your seating coupling, and it's kind of pressed in to seat those cups. And it only goes so far because on your manual you got a no-go ring.
Okay.
Which means it can't go any further than that.
Okay.
So we'll break this part here down, and
that's all on the inside of your tubing. Because this is an
Yes.
insert pump?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 2-stage hollow valve rod, which will set down on the bottom, which lifts your fluid to the surface. We'll change our wrench there. And start breaking things loose. And as you can tell, some things do get kind of tight. And the best way to hold these pumps, you know, is with a set of friction vise, which, you know, just squeezes and holds it in place. You know, there's no, it doesn't damage it or anything. Okay, that's your gas anchor connection, which comes off. And then these, once in a while you have to kind of tap them a little bit to get them to release.
Nice gentle tap.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, you got to do whatever works. So all of these have to come off, which is your seating cups. Okay, so there is that disassembled. These are no longer any good because once it's seated, they need to be replaced. I got a magnet here. Okay, so we'll test these. Okay, so this is going to be a split set, which is do more and tough temper.
So just the material you're talking about?
Yeah, so it's going to be, like I said, you know, split set. So that's what this pump, you know, was built with. I mean, I've seen all do more, I've seen all tough temper, but you know, both work just as good. You know, the do more is non-magnetic, but your tough temper, you know, you really have to pay close attention to those. You know, you're checking for pitting and anything on those.
So they're just a little softer? Or?
Yeah, they have a tendency to pit.
Okay, and that's
You
the
know,
one that's magnetic too?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the one that would be magnetic, is your tough temper. But you know, those will pit, and you know, once the pitting starts on there, you know, while you have it tore down, you need to replace it, because once that starts, there's no stopping it.
Do you know why there's multiple materials, or why use one over the other?
It just depends. You know, if they have like a magnetic issue, you know, down in the hole. But you know, like I said, your do more is the better of the both.
Okay.
You know, you can clean them up and reuse them. You know, I've never really had a bad do more. Now your tough tempers, you know, they tend to have a tendency of going south, you know, pretty quick. But I think a lot of that has to do with the conditions of you know, the fluid that's coming up through it. But what I like to do is, you know, kind of clean them up a little bit, and I put them in a box. You know, I go through a lot of rags and a lot of WD-40. I just try to clean them up as I go. Try to get some of the crud off of it. I just set my box right up here. But you're not going to get all of it off, that's why I take them back to a grinder, which has a wire wheel on it, and clean them up. So everything's nice and clean, and when it goes back together, and yeah, they come in looking like one thing, but they go out looking like brand new.
Yeah.
What you need to do is kind of run your finger in there and check and make sure everything feels good, which it does. You know, looking through the flukes and everything looks fantastic. And this one here is just a full flow, or you know, it doesn't have the holes in there. It's just straight through. Bring it back here to where we can polish it up and get everything off of it. You got plenty in there. I usually just take my finger in there, kind of wipe around, get all that out, and then usually I'll take it over here to the air hose, kind of hold it over my bucket. Cleans everything up out of it.
Did you do the inside too?
Yep. I can take that back there and polish it up, and it'll look just as clean as that.
So this is the one that he used the
Wire wheel.
wire
Yeah.
on it, and this is the sandblasted one.
That's what it looks like after it's polished up.
Yeah, polished and sandblasted.
Polished.
Sandblasted then polished.
Yes. When you clean those, you clean them with real fine sandpaper to get all the stuff off of them, and clean the seats the same way, and then you test them and set them aside. Right here, you can see the pit right there.
Oh, yeah.
You
can
can
see
also
that with the camera.
right there at the tip of my knife, which, you know, when you can snag it. So that's, once that starts, there's no stopping it. So that'll get set aside. Kind of roll that ball around, watch your gauge. See, it's not moving, so we know that one's good. So you can turn it back on, and that one's done. So it's just like cleaning a gun barrel. I'm just going to get some of the stuff out of the inside.
And you just keep doing that until it's pretty well clean?
Try to get most of the stuff out of it before I put the brush through it. You know, then it gets hooked up to a drill, and you kind of clean the walls up, and which that's the next step. We're going to hone it out.
So will that get rid of pitting, or is that more so just
No,
clean it?
that more just cleans it up to where you can get a better view of what's inside and what it's going to look like. So what I'll do is I'll release that and I'll just flip it and we'll hone the other end out. Push out the stuff that's in there. So I will look up through there and see if I can see anything with my eye. Everything looks to be good. Okay, we'll go ahead and release it. And we'll set our air mic up and we will run it through there and check the specs. Which right here is the air mic that you use, and as I said earlier about the no pipe wrench, because your tolerances are so close, this acts as your barrel and this is your plunger. So when you slide the two together, you can see how much tolerance you're going to have on there. So any kind of bind that you put that in is going to crush that barrel, and that would mean a replacement.
It's crazy. It doesn't even like.
Yeah,
It looks like it's sealed. That's all.
Right. You know, it's the tolerances are just that close.
Yeah.
So you know, that's something they want to think about. You know, no pipe wrenches, no chains. You know, if you have to haul them, make sure you put a rag underneath of them, and take a bungee cord or something and kind of tie them onto your headache, or that way there are no dents, no nothing. You know. That keeps it in good working order.
And you can order different tolerances on pumps, right?
On your plunger, yes. I mean, I've seen some run clear to a -4 because, you know, that was kind of like a jip issue. You know, they wanted to let it have a little bit more room to be able to kind of collect on the walls of the barrel. But most generally, they'll run a -2.
Oh, okay. So that's like what that was. Probably.
Well, this one here, you know, is just to set this right here.
Just, okay, calibrate.
And then it'll tell me when I start pushing it through there, you know, I'll watch my dial. So like anything, if it goes up past a 3, means that barrel is wore out. So we'll get our air here. Make sure we have enough to get clear to the other end. And that should not mic at a 0.
So what do those numbers basically mean? So I would think if it's sealing, it would be a higher number, but if it's above 3, it's not good?
On above 3 means it's wore out on this type of barrel. Now, a soft pack, which is for your cup and ring pumps, you know, they can go clear up to a 6 and still be good. It's just a different type of barrel that you're using and what you're dealing with.
So can you explain how this tool works? It's pretty much just
you put it on here,
there through the
kind
side
of
of it.
and you kind of roll it around, which you can see. Dang it! It's kind of clear down here. Well, I'm going to have to bring that up where it's zeroed out right there to get an accurate reading. So right there we are at a 0. Just kind of
So
set
it's
that
literally
off.
just blowing
Yeah, it's
air.
just blowing air off of both sides.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is fishette right through there. And we want to watch our dial. So far we're still setting good. Kind of twisting in there, so. Oh, I hit a spot.
So you just mark about where it is, right?
Yeah. Ooh. So right in here.
Now you're just checking to see if there's like any
Any dent
visual.
or, yeah. Checking to see if there's a dent or something in it to why it's not going through.
What's kind of your tolerance to where you'd say replace the whole barrel?
If it hits a 3, we're going to replace the barrel. If there's any pitting, scoring, or anything inside this barrel, it's going to be replaced.
Something like that, though. I mean, like
Something like that, if it's got a dent or something in there, whether it's a pipe wrench or whether it's just been dropped, and if this don't go through it, then I have to replace it.
okay.
So that was the purpose of running this through here to check for any informalities in it, but to look through, and I can see a spot there. So we'll run the swab back through it one more time and try to re-mic it, and if it comes up to the same spot again, then it's going to have to be replaced. Take a light and I'll shine in there, which that'll light it up a little bit more.
It's actually a pretty cool view. I didn't know if you'd be able to see down that.
Which I still see on the one side. I'm going to try it with an air mic and see if it's going to go through. If not, then I'll have to replace it. Yep, right back to the exact same spot. So what we're going to do is that's probably a dent. So we're not going to run that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the exact same barrel over there on the shelf for it. So all of my findings goes on a work order, and everything's documented to what I've found. And so this one here, we just set outside, goes in the scrap. So our next step is to get the plunger up here in the pull tube, and we'll start taking it apart for 1.25 inches. Which I'm not seeing any pittings, any scoring. Our adjustment here. That way when you're pushing down on it, nothing gets bent. So we're going to remove the traveling valve. So we'll loosen that up. But your cages, it's fine to put a pipe wrench on. It's just anything on that barrel, you don't want to put a pipe wrench on it. Okay, you take your plug out of it. Take out your ball and seat. You want to see what kind of seat the ball and seat is in there, which that's going to be non-magnetic, so that's another do more. So while you have it right there, let's go ahead and wipe everything off of it. Kind of, as you're doing that, you can kind of visually inspect, which I don't see anything wrong. Go up here and start taking the other stuff off and take the pull tube off of it.
Was it true that basically your barrel is going to be roughly double the height of your plunger?
Well, your rule of thumb for your depth is your plunger every 12 inches is 1,000 feet. So this in here is, I believe, is a 4-foot plunger, which
How long is the barrel?
The barrel is 10 foot.
Oh, okay. Slightly more than double.
Yeah. So this one here would be good for 4,000 plus a little, because they don't really measure like right at 4 feet. It's 4 feet, odd inches.
Okay. And what did you call this valve?
This is your top valve, which your top pin would be 5/8. Bring it back over here. Set that down. And we got which that leaves your rod guide still on there. So that'll slide off.
The fluid actually flows through the inside of the plunger, correct?
Yes,
Through the inside of all this?
Yeah, it comes up through here, and it'll disperse out the top.
So that's super small flow area. So I didn't realize that's how small it actually was.
Yeah.
All that fluid's going through, basically like my pinky size.
So, when your pump's out there, pumping that, so like on your downstroke, everything, kind of closes, and then when it picks it up, it's sucking more fluid. So that's your continuous motion, up and down, and okay. That looks good. It's nice and open. You can see the crud on that one.
And you're taking all that off to just inspect the inside of it?
Yeah, just when everything's clean. I mean, it'll go back on, but it's just easier to, whenever I clean them up on the wire wheel, I like to make sure everything is clean. See if there's any type of pittings, or check out all your cages. Check your rod guide. See if it's been beaten down.
Just sandpaper.
Yep, real fine, wet and dry sandpaper. We'll mic it. -4 is what you want to run in that one. So the first thing you do, if there's threads on it, it gets never sees. Well, if it has to come back apart, people like me don't have any problems. So there's your rule of thumb. If it's got threads, never sees it. And I like to never sees the stuff that I'm going to use first. So we're going to assemble the seating assembly. Okay, let's see what we got there. All right. That is going to go into, no, it's going to go into here. Put your good stuff to the front. You start screwing things together. Other ball and seat. Right in there, mandrel.
Is that what you kind of call like a dual check or
It's your double valve.
double valve?
Yeah. And I just stand that up, open up our seating cups. Just seating cup, spacer, seating cup, spacer, seating cup. Never sees.
And the seating cups are what's going to provide that
That's
seal,
what's
right?
going to seal down into your seating collar. That's what's going to hold that pump in place. Okay. You grab your gas anchor connector. Screw that on there. Stick that right in there. Grab your wrench. Tighten them up. You don't want to over tighten. About a half turn. That's plenty. You want to make sure everything's good and tight. Okay. So that part's done. So you can hear the ball and seats in there chattering, so everything in there is clean. Next thing we're going to do is the top valve. Get that never sees in there. Get our new ball and seat that we want to replace.
Didn't imagine it to come that fancy.
They never used to. They used to have like that, like saran wrap stuff on there, like vacuum sealed to it. So you had to take your knife and kind of cut around it and all right.
That's your rod guide?
Yep, that's your top pin with your top
okay.
valve. This is going to be your rod guide.
That's your, okay, this is your rod guide.
Yes. Make sure everything's good and tight. That way nothing can come loose. All right, now we got your traveling valve. Ball and seat, which you want to make sure it goes on the bottom, not on that way. I mean, it won't go that way, but put it together. Okay, there's your traveling valve. So the next thing we do, we'll tighten this back up. Make sure it's good and tight. Never sees each end. Okay. Down there. Make sure that's good and tight. Now we're going to put our pull tube on there. It's right here. Put a rag down on here. Get everything started. Eight. Rod guide. Okay. What I do is go from there to there, which that tells me 4-foot plunger. And I want to check the stroke length. You go from the inside of there to the outside of here, which will be 56 inches. Not 56 and a half. It has to be, you know, even inch. So 56 inches. You're going to take that, set it off to the side. You got lithium grease here. You're going to coat that. All the way up through as far as you want to. That's all the further I go, because I like to put my hands on there and slide it into the barrel.
Fresh off the shelf.
Fresh off the shelf. That was a 10-foot barrel. This is a carbon nitride barrel, which is 10 foot, which is the same barrel that came off of it. We're ready to start sliding things together. Spin that around there a little bit to coat the inside. What I do is I put that all the way down there and pull it back out. That way all the grease is clear through the walls. But you can hear it's nice and smooth. Cheese is a good thing, but a little bit goes a long way. I'm just going to leave that loose, and I'm going to go ahead and clutch it so I can look down at the other end just to see how close that traveling valve is to the bottom. Which usually want it closest to the threads as you can get it, which that is good right there. So there's no chance of gas lock, and it's going to pick up. Now we'll put the seating assembly on. We'll get things tightened down. There's your seating assembly. Never seize that up. Screw that on the bottom. So while it's like that, if you could briefly help me out and stick your hand down here like that, I will give that a pull, and once it sucks on your hand, just pull your hand off of it.
Yeah.
Got a good draw to it?
Yeah.
Okay. Which that tells me that it's ready to go. Take off your pipe wrench, Mark. All that's left is wrapping it up in paperwork. Put your wrap on there.
Yeah, well there we go. Signed, sealed, and delivered basically.
Yes.
Tagged and ready to go. But thanks for walking us through all that. That was very informative, good to see in person. So thanks, Tim, for your time.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll come back.